Previously, we had looked at using the plurality voting or plurality with runoff voting as a means of determining the winner of an election. Now, suppose that you are putting forth this candidate and you want a specific outcome, but you realize that your candidate is not going to win. What we can do is this idea of strategic voting. And so we're going to look at some examples where we're going to do some strategic voting. And the idea is that you're going to end up voting against your innate preferences with the goal of obtaining a more preferential outcome, a better outcome for you compared to the original kind of result of an election. So here, I've got an example of, we've got blah, 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 12 people at a picnic. We've got football, soccer, softball, and volleyball. Now, we're going to do a plurality election. So I'm just going to denote that PL. Looking at this, let's determine first our plurality winner. So using our preference table, I'm going to look at all of those first place votes. So football has those votes, soccer receives the vote from that column, softball receives the votes from those columns, and volleyball receives the votes from those columns. Now, keep in mind, going across the top, football receives 1 vote, 2 votes. Soccer is going to receive 1 vote. Softball is going to receive 1 vote plus 3 votes for a total of 4. And volleyball is going to receive 2 votes, another 2 votes for 4, and another vote, bringing them up to 5. So our outcome, football has 2, soccer has 1, softball has 4 votes, and volleyball has 5 votes. So our plurality winner right now is volleyball. Here's where our strategic voting comes in. If we look at the 2 voters whose first choice was football, so that is these first 2 columns. Looking at what they have, they want football, and volleyball is their 4th choice or their 3rd choice between the 2 columns. They really don't like volleyball. So the idea is, can they do anything to get a better outcome for them? Now, what does it mean to have a better outcome? For the first column, better than 4th place is 3rd place or 2nd place. For the second column, better than 3rd place would be 2nd place or 1st place. And so the way we're going to do some strategic voting is think about this, like in a presidential election. In 2016, we had Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, and then Gary Johnson was the Libertarian candidate. And you might realize, okay, Clinton versus Trump versus, I'm a big fan of the Libertarian vote. I believe in libertarianism. But you realize Gary Johnson has absolutely no chance against the major 2 parties in the United States. Or looking back at 2020, how you had Joe Jorgensen or Howie Hawkins from the Libertarian and the Green Party, respectively, you realize they have no absolute chance when it comes to our 2-party system. And that's pretty much why we kind of have this monopoly with a 2-party system. You realize Gary Johnson wasn't going to get enough votes, so you're going to vote for somebody else. You're going to go vote for your 2nd choice or your 3rd choice. You're going to vote for anybody aside who you don't want. That's what's happening here. So these football players, who else can they vote for? Now, if they team up and realize we don't want volleyball, well, first person would vote maybe for their 2nd choice. But if they take a look at that, they're saying, we want football, but second column person really doesn't like soccer, so they're not going to team up and do that. Instead, maybe if they vote or prefer softball, at least 3rd is better than 4th. At least 2nd is better than 3rd if we can't get our 1st. So what we're going to do, our strategy is to move our 1st place vote to another candidate. I'm going to take this one and say, switch it with my 3 for that 1st column. I'm going to take my 1 and switch it with my 2 in the 2nd column. So what that does is those 2 votes now get switched to softball instead. Looking at what happens, that's going to subtract 2 votes from football, bringing them down to 0, but it's going to add 2 votes to softball, bringing softball up to 6. So if we take those 2 votes from football, add those 2 votes for softball, softball takes the win away from volleyball. We have voted strategically. We have a better outcome because, looking back at our original outcomes, we've got our 2nd and 3rd place choice instead of our 3rd or 4th place choice. Softball is better for these 2 than volleyball. What if we try this with plurality with a runoff between the top 2 finishers? Now, we already have that football is 2nd place, soccer is 1st place, softball is 4th place, or 4 votes, and volleyball receives 5 votes. Let's do a runoff and see what happens up above. So runoff, we're going to drop football and soccer. So I'm going to drop football and soccer. Let me neaten this up. And the remaining votes are going to go between softball and volleyball. Doing our runoff, well, those first 3 columns we can see don't have any votes remaining, so we need to go for the higher ranking candidates. First column is going to go to softball because 3 is ranked higher than 4. The next column is going to go to 2, also softball. The next column is also going to go to softball. So what happens is we're going to add 1, 2, 3 votes to softball, bringing softball up to 7 votes. So softball becomes our runoff winner. Let's take a look at this. In a plurality election with a runoff between the top two finishers, could the two voters who ranked volleyball first, soccer second, football third, and softball last, they are super unhappy with the outcomes. Can they attain a better result by voting strategically if everybody else voted as shown? So I'm going to come back up to our table. That is looking at this column right there. I'm going to clean house with all of this, highlight our ones back again. We're looking at this column. Can we change something so softball does not end up winning the runoff? Now, with our runoff strategy, we can take our 1 and move it to someplace else. So what's better than 4th place? 3rd place is better. 2nd place is better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take that 1st place vote and move it to a 2nd place vote. See what happens. So I'm going to switch my 1 and my 2. Put that there. What that does for us is now those 2 votes get taken away from volleyball, bringing volleyball to 3. It's going to add 2 votes to soccer, bringing soccer up to 3. So we don't have majority in that case. Now let's see what happens. Because we've got soccer and volleyball, both have 3 votes, we're kind of stuck there with our runoff. We don't have 2 top finishers. So instead, what's going to happen if we take that 1 and move it to our 3rd place? So I'm going to drop that 3 for football, put 1 for football, and make volleyball our 3. It's going to take 2 votes away from volleyball. It's going to add 2 votes to football, bringing football up to 4 votes. Now we at least have 2 top finishers. So what's going to happen when we make this switch is that we're going to have a runoff between football and softball. Football starts with 4. Softball starts with 4. Let's see what happens now if we drop soccer and not softball, soccer and volleyball. Where do those votes go? So my 3rd column, that vote's going to go to football. We've got a +1 there. This column right before the green is going to go to football because that's 2 is ranked higher than 2, 3. That's another 2 points. So +1, +2, and the last column is going to go to softball. So there's 1 vote going to softball. So let's see what happened. 4 + 1 + 2 brings us up to 7. Softball goes 5 + 1 goes up to 4 + 1 gets us 5. Ooh, so football has come up on top. Now our response for this, can we get a better outcome? If we look at our table, 4th place was the winner. Did not like that. The winner is now 3rd place. That is better than 4th place. So what did we do? Can we do it? Yes. If we switch votes to football, so we switch the 1 vote to football, football makes it to the runoff and beats softball. And it's not just a matter of, can we change something? It's, can we get something better than what we wanted? So I'm comparing the original winner, 4th place, to the new winner, 3rd place. That's better. Strategic voting.